The Artifacts of Mount Independence and the Stories They Tell. A series of brief explorations of Revolutionary War artifacts from Mount Independence on Lake Champlain in Orwell, Vermont.
Greetings. I'm Mike Barbieri. I'm a volunteer here at the Mount Independence State Historic Site in Orwell, Vermont. And we're going to be talking about some artifacts that have been found here on the mount. And I'm going to be talking about bayonets today. The bayonet goes on the end of the firelock. They descended from pikes before the creation of firearms. Once the firearm was created, they still wanted the soldier to have some personal defense, so they created a bayonet. And basically a bayonet is a pointy thing that goes on the end of the firelock. This is a reproduction of a French bayonet, and this is a French musket. And you will note slots cut in the socket here, like this. You will also note this on the end of the musket. Now, a lot of people assume this is a sight, and some people, it can be used as a sight, but its primary function is to hold the bayonet. And you have the slots go like this, and a twist, and then like that. And the bayonet sits tight against this end of the musket, and it allows you, it's necked off to the side, it allows you to load and fire, and it gives you some personal defense. So that's the basics of the bayonet and how it mounts. So we're going to look at some original pieces that were found here. Now, one of them is almost the complete bayonet. You'll note that the socket is pretty well rusted away, but the one thing about this one you'll note, it has a reinforcing ring right here. This ring would have gone all the way around, and it just would have added some strength to this end, to the socket. You'll note this one does not have the reproduction that I had. This is also probably an English or American bayonet. It's bent, possibly broken here. It's hard to say whether this was bent or broken when it was being used or not, or later on. Bayonets were made, this part here tended to be a softer metal, iron in here, and at some point coming up the blade they would change it and it would be steel. It would be a hardened steel, and it would be much more resistant to bending and breaking. And it's possible this is where the joint was between the iron and the steel. Without doing some metallurgical work, no way to tell, for me anyways. But that's one item that was found here. This is even less of the bayonet, but what's interesting about this is that it has the neck, and right here. So this probably broke off of the socket at some point, this particular one. Here we have the point of a bayonet. It's been bent. This may well have been bent on purpose. What the purpose was, I don't know. Lots of times they would take spare bayonets, heat them up, and bend them to make hooks so that they could, they suspend it over fire to hold a piece of meat or something like that. But if I was a soldier and did that to my bayonet in the camp, I'd be watching out for my officer coming along and saying, "Why'd you do that?" and end up in prison, in jail for destroying company equipment. So this is, and it's actually in pretty good shape, this piece, but it is broken off again about the same point same location that this bayonet is broken. So again, this may be the hardened part of the bayonet point. Hard to say. The other little piece that we have here, two of them actually, is this little brass piece. Those are steel and iron. These little brass pieces here, kind of a cute little item. What's that for? Right here. This is the, pardon me a moment. This is a scabbard for the bayonet. And you will see this piece here. So that's what this thing is. This thing was attached to some leather and it got lost, dropped or whatever. The leather rotted away and we're left with the brass. This component is called a frog. This is the scabbard and the frog. This is loose in here and this can be taken off of this piece. This piece might have two pieces on it. So you would have a bayonet scabbard and a sword scabbard on it. This particular one is suspended from a waist belt. You could see others that were made to go on a cross belt. This would be worn on the left-hand side. And if you have seen, I'm sure you've seen pictures of the soldiers of the Revolution, and you see these two cross belts right here. This one's holding the cartridge pouch, the ammunition, but this one holds the bayonet and possibly a sword. So that, I think, pretty much covers the basics of the bayonet. Thank you.